Howdy, folks. Welcome to Tuesday's Tips. It's been kind of a crazy day. Glad Yule to everyone. Um, yeah, today being Yule, our girls open up their presents, and boy, did they go crazy. um, so, what I wanted to talk about today is because I've seen a lot of people using this, and I don't know if people really understand exactly what it's doing for you. Um, on your cell phones, when people, I mean, these things are getting to where they are very, very good for taking pictures. Now, I'm not comparing a cell phone photo to my Sony A7R3 because, worlds apart. But as far as for your average daily photography, cell phones have actually gotten to the point where they're very, very capable devices. But one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand is they don't fully understand all the features that they can find when using them. One of the things you can do is you can go completely manual, which if you're not used to shooting manual with a regular camera, I don't encourage it because it's even more difficult to make all the settings the way you want them on a phone. Um, you can do a lot of different things with it. But the one thing I see a lot of people using, and I don't think they quite understand exactly what all it's doing, is the portrait mode for when you're taking a photograph. Now, one of the biggest things that the portrait mode is doing for you is that it's allowing you to have a clear focus on your subject. Okay? Now, in a lot of portrait photography, we set things up specifically so that whatever we have in the background is softened in focus, so it becomes bokeh, and you'll have that nice soft focus in the background. And what's clean and crisp in focus is your subject. And this allows you to have wonderful depth in your photography, and it allows you to have a really great highlight on what it is that is your subject. Now, with the portrait mode on your phone, what it's doing is it's synthesizing that aperture setting, which is the how big on a camera, how big or small the opening that the light is passing through for the image. The larger the opening, the more light's getting through, but also the shallower its depth of field. And depth of field meaning from what's in focus at the front to what's in focus at the back. So if you're shooting with something that's got a depth of field that's about 12 feet, then that means from the front part of the focus all the way to 12 feet behind that is going to be in focus. If you're 12 inches, then that means 12 inches behind your front of focus is where you are starting to fall off, and you will get that kind of blurring in the background. So the larger the aperture, the shallower the depth of field. So what your phone is doing is it's simulating that by using software to blur the background. Now, here's the trick with it: it's not truly a aperture setting. So your computer is the software in the phone is making an approximation of, oh, this must be what you're focusing in on, and then it's going to start blurring everything else. Now, if you have several people and they're at an angle, see if I can, they're at an angle. Still not used to doing this. If you have several people and they're at an angle, then they're going to get blurrier depending upon where your point of focus is. Either if your point of focus is in the back, the closer they get, the more blurry they'll get. Same thing going to the rear, if your point of focus is there. But when you have the portrait mode on your phone, it's going to pick whichever one is closest and whichever one it thinks you want clearest. So that way, anybody that's in the background is going to blur out. And they don't have to be in the background by much. I've seen this happen using portrait mode on video, and I've seen it happen using portrait mode for taking pictures. So if you have more than one person or subject that you are working on capturing for your image, then portrait mode may not be the best choice. But if you do want to use that portrait mode, what you have to do is you have to make sure that your subjects are close enough together, front to back, that you're not going to end up having them become blurred because they're too far behind what your phone has decided is the actual subject. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to pay attention to it. But the good thing with cell phones, and this is one of the reasons I love my mirrorless camera, is because when I'm looking through the viewfinder, it's an electronic viewfinder, okay? So what I see is what I'm going to get. I can tell where is the depth of field. I can tell what's going to be blurred by the aperture settings and that kind of thing. With your standard DSLRs, because you're actually looking through the lens, your eye is not going to see it the same way that the sensor will. So when you're using your phone, look at it and look carefully at how, if you have more than one person, make sure that everybody's in focus. If they're not, have them adjust their positions to where they're more online with each other. And that will pretty much solve that problem for you. It'll give you that nice blurred background, but it will also make sure that all your people are in focus. Now, the other thing with this, though, is that if you have somebody who their hair is kind of windblown, or you're like me right now where you got a little bit of hair sticking out from a beard or what have you, those things are going to get kind of smashed and clipped off by the blurring effect. It's one of those things that just happens because you've got a software program that's making approximations, so it's not going to be as effective at separating, really fine details from the background to the foreground. So be mindful of those things too. And the biggest thing is make sure your subject is well lit enough that you can get those details and that your phone can recognize those details. So that's pretty much my tip for today: how to use the portrait mode on your phone. And you're going to get great images, but just learn. That's one of the things you need to do. You need to experiment when it isn't I need to get the money shot. If you're trying to get that shot of something that's only going to happen once, kind of thing, then you want to make sure that you know the settings that you're working in and that you have experimented with them. So if you're serious about catching images with your phone, play around with it. Check the different settings. See how the images turn out. And by all means, once you figure out what you like, go with it. That's the important thing is, are you happy with the image? So that's today's tips. And be sure to tune in tomorrow, noon Wednesday, noon Central Time, for Wellness Wednesday. And we're going to be talking a little bit about environmental wellness, in the sense of what is in your house. Do you know what it might be doing to you? Anyway, until tomorrow, y'all have a great afternoon. Glad Yule to everyone. And remember, everything can make a beautiful image, including you. Have a great afternoon, folks. Talk to you later.